Okay, good evening, kids. This is Miss Merriweather. I'm the one who will be recording today because Miss Hayslip kind of sounds like she's dying with her little sickness. So, it's me doing this. The first thing is we're starting quadratic formula. It is not that hard of a concept, but if you just understand where to plug in your numbers, it's very, very easy. First thing, quadratic function. Remember, your quadratic function is ax squared plus bx plus c. Your quadratic formula is this right here. This will be given to you on your actual EOC test or your STAR test, whatever you want to call it. It will be given to you on your formula chart, so you do not have to have this memorized. First thing you have to remember, your first arrow is to make sure the equation equals 0. Okay, so over here it has to equal 0. If it does not equal 0, then you have to move around the parts to make it equal 0. Step 2, you have to label your A, B, and C. So that's the first thing we will do. My A is 1. My B is -5, and my C is -14. Okay, remember your A, B, and C are always numbers, so what's always invisible in front of x squared is 1. The next thing you do is you plug it to the quadratic formula. So before that, you probably need to write out your quadratic formula so you know what you're plugging in. So again, that's your quadratic formula. It stands for opposite of b or negative b, however you want to say it, plus or minus. This plus or minus sign means it's going to split up later. You'll see what I'm talking about here in a second. Times the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Now you just plug in your numbers. Remember, when you plug in numbers, you must put them into parentheses. If you forget your parentheses, it could cause you to get your answer wrong. So you have x equals the negative, because that negative never changes. That negative always has to be there. Negative, plug in your b, which is -5, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a. So that's it all plugged in right there. Then you will take a calculator and you take care of what's underneath the square root first. Okay? So you take care of what's underneath the square root first. So in your calculator, you want to put it in exactly how you see it. So you would put in negative parentheses, -5 squared minus 4 times your 1 times your -14. Notice these two look exactly the same. Hit enter and you get 81. So you would rewrite it now as x equals, let's go ahead and simplify some of the other parts. A negative times a negative turns to a positive, so x equals 5 plus or minus the square root of 81 all over, what's 2 times 1? Well, 2. And now we find the square root of 81. Well, what times what gives me 81? 9 times 9. So you would rewrite it as x equals 5 plus or minus 9, all divided by 2. Okay, so what we did here is we took this square root of 81 and we solved it to get our 9. Your last step is to divide the two equations and solve. Okay, so this is where that plus and minus sign happens. So you take the two equations, or you take the two parts, and you're going to separate them. So 1 would be x equals 5 plus 9 divided by 2. And 1 is x equals 5 minus 9 divided by 2. okay? Well, 5 plus 9 is 14. So you have 14 divided by 2, which is 7. 5 minus 9 is negative 4 divided by 2, which is negative 2. Those two are your answers. So your answer is x equals 7 or x equals negative 2. That there is your answer. So again, it's just a matter of plugging in your numbers correctly. Again, this formula will be given to you. It does not have to be memorized. All right, turn it over. We're going to work through some more examples. So if you look at example number 2, first question we ask ourselves, does it equal 0? Well, yes, it does. So now we jump to labeling our A, B, and C. So our A is 2, our B is negative 3, and our C is negative 5. So we rewrite our equation, or our formula, x equals the opposite of b, plus or minus the square root, b squared minus 4 times a times c, all over 2a, and we actually plug in our parts. So now we have x equals negative times our b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a. So we found our A, B, and C, and then we plugged it into our equation. Now we got to take care of what's underneath the square root. So we take our calculator and we plug in exactly what is underneath here. So you have negative 3 squared minus 4 times your A times your C. And you get 49. Notice again, this is the exact same. Okay, so you rewrite it again. Let's take care of this first. Negative times a negative turns to a positive. So you have x equals 3 plus or minus the square root of 49 all over 2 times 2, which is 4. Now let's go ahead and simplify this here. Negative 49 is going to give me 3 plus or minus, what times what gives me 49? Well, 7, all divided by 4. This is where we split. So you have x equals 3 plus 7 divided by 4. And you have x equals 3 minus 7 divided by 4. Well, 3 plus 7 gives you 10 divided by 4. 3 minus 7 gives you negative 4 divided by 4. Now let's simplify these. Can 4 go into 10? Well, no, it can't. So you just simplify the fraction. You do not put it as a decimal. So if you simplify this, both can be divided by 2. So you get 5 over 2. Negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1. That there is your answer. X equals 5 over 2 or x equals negative 1. Okay, moving on. The next one, you ask yourself, example number 3, does this equal 0? Well, no, it does not. So we have to make this right side equal 0. What can we do to negative 10 to bring it to 0? Well, we add 10. But whatever we do on one side, you have to do on the other. So you add 10 here. And you just rewrite it. So now you have 2x squared minus 7x. Negative 13 plus 10 is negative 3 equals 0. Well, now it's true. It equals 0, so we can move on to find our A, B, and C. Well, A is 2, B is negative 7, C is negative 3. We rewrite our equation. X equals negative B plus or minus b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. And we plug it in. So we have x equals negative, whatever our b is, negative 7, plus or minus negative 7 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 3 all over 2 times 2. We take what's inside the radical. This is called a radical, or the square root. We take what's inside there and we plug it in the calculator. So you have negative 7 squared minus 4 times 2 times a negative 3. You get 73. These two match, so we know we're good. So you come over here, you write x equals. Now negative times a negative gives me a positive. So 7 plus or minus the square root of 73 all over 2 times 2, which is 4. Now, is the square root of 73 a perfect square? Does anything multiplied times itself give you a perfect number? No. And if you want to double check yourself because you don't know, you can always do in the calculator. The square root of 73 is a decimal, so it is not a perfect square. If it is not a perfect square, you leave it how it is. You just split it up. So you would split it up, and you would have 7 plus the square root of 73 divided by 4, and 7 minus the square root of 73 divided by 4. You cannot simplify these answers anymore. So that would be your answer. Your final answer would be x equals 7 plus the square root of 73 divided by 4, or x equals 7 minus the square root of 73 divided by 4. Those are your two answers. You leave it as the square root. Any questions? Make sure if you have questions, you come with them tomorrow. Okay, the last one. Does it equal 0? No, it does not. So we got to move this negative 5 over. We got to make this to 0. So we add 5, which means we have to add 5 to this side. And we rewrite it. Well, if we rewrite it, we have 8x squared. But can we add 5 to any one of these numbers? Well, no, because 5 does not have an x. Remember, you have to combine like terms, but they have to have the same last name. So you just add it on at the end. So it'll be plus 6x plus 5 equals 0. It equals 0. We can identify our A, B, and C. So A is 8, B is 6, C is 5. We rewrite our equation. X equals the opposite of B, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. You plug it in. So you have x equals negative, whatever b is, 6 plus or minus the square root, 6 squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Again, you plug into the calculator exactly what's underneath the square root. So you have 6 squared minus 4 times your a times your c. You get negative 124. So we're going to rewrite that as x equals, this will just be a negative 6 plus or minus the square root of negative 124 all over 2 times a to 16. Now here's the tricky part. You cannot have a negative number underneath a radical or underneath the square root. That is not possible. So it is not possible to have a negative square root. So since it's not possible to have a negative square root, your final answer is no real solution. Anytime you end up with a negative underneath your radical or a negative with your square root, your answer will always be no real solution. You do not have to go on any further. Okay? So I hope you go over these notes. Again, come to class tomorrow with questions. Your warm-up tomorrow will be this example 5, so if you want to get started on it earlier, you are more than welcome to try to do it and see if you can get it right. Remember, it has to equal 0, so you have to move these parts over. Anyways, I hope you have a good rest of the evening. I know this video is kind of long, but it will help you. See y'all tomorrow. Bye.